welcome back. Today's video is going to be a get ready with me using products by brands that start with the letter L. So I've already done B, B, M, and then I did one with like J. So now I'm doing the letter L, which L is going to be more of a challenge. I'm going to be using brands like Lancome, Mercier, Gellar, Lorac, L'Oreal, maybe a couple other brands thrown in there that start with L. There were only two things that I could think of that I didn't have products that start with L. One was mascara, because I don't have 26 mascaras open at a time, right? So I didn't have a mascara that started with an L. And I also, for whatever reason, don't have a bronzer, which I thought was really weird. So I'm going to actually use a shadow from the eyeshadow palette to make my bronzer. But right now I'm using the Lancome Energy Divi, the smoothing and glow boosting liquid. Basically, it's like a moisturizer, and I'm going to let that sink in for a minute, and then I'm going to go into the Lancome La Base Pro. It's the Perfecting Makeup Primer Smoothing Effect. And this is just like a clear primer. I do have a band-aid on my finger in case you guys are like, what is that? Foundation, I'm using the Mercier Silk Cream Moisturizing Photo Edition Foundation. This is in the shade Bamboo Beige. I have to be honest with you, I do not like this foundation. It's been a long time, so I'm not even going to try to return it, but I don't know, I don't like it. I don't know if it's it seems dry to me. It's supposed to be moisturizing, but it doesn't. Now I'm using a sample I have of the Lorac Porefection Concealer. I have it in the shade PC3 Golden Light. And I have never tried this. I'm opening it for the first time. I'm going to try using this Real Techniques pointed brush. I think it's a concealer brush. I also don't really use this brush very often. Alright, my under eyes, I did the whole triangle because I had too much product. Look how light they look. Using the Mercier Secret Brightening Powder under my eyes. And now I'm using the Mercier Translucent Powder all over my face. I'm using the Mercier Eye Art Artist Palette. I'm going to use the shade Fresco as a bronzer and kind of a contour. We'll see how it works. This brush does not have a name. I don't have a name on it, but it is by Crown. Hopefully this eyeshadow blends out as a bronzer or contour. Now I'm using the Laura Geller Baked Gelato Vivid Swirl Blush. This is in the shade Papaya, which is a really pretty like peachy, orangey color, like coral. I'm going to try that same brush. Top of the cheekbones, I'm using this L'Oreal True Match Lumi Powder Glow Illuminator. This is in the shade W102 Golden. It kind of looks like a patchwork weird pattern of golden bronzer. So I'm going to try that. This is straight up glitter. I actually have almost thrown this away multiple times. I hate it that much. But I saved it and it worked out today because I had an L highlighter. Priming my eyes with the Lorac Behind the Scenes Shadow Primer. Eyeshadows, I have two palettes, the Lorac Pro 2 and the Mercier one I already showed you. So I may use a mixture of these. The biggest thing I want to keep in mind is I'm going to be wearing like a purple lip. Maybe tie in the purple. Since I've got a peachy cheek, it's not going to be too matchy-matchy. Transition shade, I'm using Nectar from the Lorac Pro 2, which is that light pink shade. I love this shade. Just putting that in the crease and slightly above the crease. And that also will tie in the blush color, but it won't be like so cool tone purple. It's just kind of like a nice neutral pink, possibly even slightly warm peachy pink. For the brow bone, I'm going to be using Buff and Snow from the Lorac Pro 2. They're just like an off-white and a white. One is matte, one is shimmery, so I mix the two together so I don't get too harsh of a white and too shimmery. It's kind of in between. It's like a semi-shimmery, off-whitish color. I forgot I was also going to use the light brown shade in this palette to fill in my brows. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just with a really small brush. Alright, I finished my brows, and then I decided to go ahead and do one eye, as I usually do, because I don't want to like show you and then change my mind halfway. So I like to do one eye and then show you how I did it on the other eye. So like I said, I already did my transition shade and my brow bone shade. Then I'm taking the Laura Mercier palette, and this color is like a shimmery pink. It's called Primrose, and it's just a really pretty, very light pink shade. So I'm putting that all over the lid, and I'm going to come back into this shade repeatedly throughout blending. Like, I'm going to need to, because after I blend, it kind of fades a little bit, and that's okay. I just want it there now so I can tell like how much to use of the other things. So I want it to be this brush set aside. And then it's time for the dark shade. That's that outer V that's like super dark. I mixed Violet Ink and Truffle, which are the really dark purple, and the brown. So these two. And I took a pointed brush. This one is actually a Real Techniques 201 Bold Metals brush, so it's very pointed. And I just poked it right where I wanted it, where I wanted that outer V, that triangle. And then I drew a line down towards the lash line, and then one to meet the crease. So once I have that like little triangle laid out, then I just keep packing on the color. Now you can see here how I have the triangle darkened. And then once it's going to be super dark, so dark, then I take a shade that's between the darkest color and the lid shade, like a middle color, and use it as a transition shade in between the two. But let us get going. Okay, see what I mean? It's so dark. And then I'm just taking a flat eyeshadow brush, and I'm taking Fresco, which is the color I used for my bronzer, and a little bit of that truffle brown color. And that's what's going in between the super dark and the light lid shade. I'm kind of like making a transition between the two. And this is also adding some more warmth back in by using the brown instead of purple and pink. It's going to add a little bit of warmth. Then I take what's left on this brush, and I'm actually running it through the crease. As I mentioned, I go back into the lid shade to brighten that back up. I take a blending brush and blend out the edges. And then I'm just going back in with each of those brushes, each of those shades, a clean blending brush, blending, adding more color, blending, adding more color, touching up the transition shade, that light pink nectar that we used first in the above the crease, over and over until I have it the way I want it. So this part took me like 10 minutes, not gonna lie, for the first eye, so hopefully it'll be faster this time. Just taking a little bit of whatever's left on that brush on the lower lash line. Any of the colors, whether you want the super dark purple, the pink, the brown, whatever you want on your lower lash line. Then I'm using the Lancome Drama Liquid Pencil. This is the Extreme Longwear Eyeliner in Noir Intense. Basically, it's a black liner. And I'm taking the point of this again, and I'm brushing that on top of the liner that I just did. And it's kind of smudging it a little bit. Then take a smudger brush, smudge it again, and I'm going back into that eyeshadow palette, of course. And this is the shade African Violet. It's a shimmery purple. A little bit of Cœur Royale, which is another purple. And going on top of the liner and smudging it some more. I'm using the L'Oreal Silkissime, or Silkissime liner. This is in the shade Highlighter, so it's like a nude shimmery color, and I'm using that in the lower waterline and on the inner corner. I'm just applying some mascara. As I mentioned before, I don't have one that starts with an L, so this is the Urban Decay Perversion mascara. For my lips, I'm using another L brand. You probably noticed I already had half of it on. This was the brand Laqa, L-A-Q-A, and Co. Lip Lube, and this is in a purpley shade. that I don't really wear very often, but I actually think it's pretty cool. So this is the finished look that I came up with using all brands starting with L minus the mascara, because come on, who has 26 mascaras open? I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Let me know what other letters you want to see me try down below in the comments. Thanks for watching. Bye.